yet, but I'm sure they'll be coming in and they'll be rocking it with us, going back and forth. So for now, we will just stick on schedule. Nick, our very first topic is good old fashioned Bear Alexander, the USC defensive tackle, has decided to redshirt for the 2024 season due to dissatisfaction with his playing time, preserving his eligibility for 2 more seasons. Alexander will remain with the team and practice with the aim of becoming a full time starter and leader on defense, according to Tony Jones, who is close to him. USC head coach Lincoln Riley acknowledged Alexander's decision, calling it surprising, but emphasized his confidence in the current defensive line and its depth. This move aligns with a growing trend in the NCAA transfer portal era, allowing players to strategically preserve eligibility while assessing their future options. The most notable case of this was Matthew Sulka, however you pronounce his name, and then the running back of UNLV also did that as well. Nick, I just want to get your thoughts on this. Like, what's your general thoughts on Bear Alexander? Obviously, this comes after the UNLV situation, so it's a little crazy. But I mean, just what's your thoughts overall on this situation?
I mean, it's hard to like say if it's going to be a good decision or a bad decision because yes, I do think it's a little selfish because football is unpredictable. You don't know if someone's going to get injured. You may start later in the season if you decided to continue playing the season. But it I think it's also a good decision for him because if he believes that he's starter material, then he either should stay with USC next season and be a starter there or take his talent elsewhere because it's so easy to do that with the transfer portal nowadays. But I think bringing in the 2 other defensive tackle transfers, Gavin Meyer and Nate Clifton, I think that raised the competition for him, and it just kind of it ended up not looking as good as he thought it was going to be this season with them. So I think he just wants a more even playing field. But you never know if USC is going to end up bringing in more D tackles next season.
Very true, very true. Doug Shepard Senior, he says this is getting out of control. Starter material in the MAC, maybe. Yeah. Well, I mean, last year, I don't think this is too hot of a take. I think last year he was the best player on defense. Now the defense was pretty bad last year, so that's not
Yeah.
really saying all that much. However, I think coming off a year where you're the best player on the defense, and then from there you go to not even third most snaps on the defensive tackle position right now for USC. So not starting, not getting as many snaps as he did last year. I attribute that more to Dan Lynn knowing that you have to rotate your defensive line. That was one of the things for USC last year that I felt like got overlooked was how little Alex Grinch rotated his defensive line at times. And now maybe it was because he didn't feel like he had the guys, but I've heard some people say like he won't be missed. I feel like he will, I mean, I know that, if he is like a selfish player or something like that, some players might be glad he's not playing. But at the end of the day, like your defensive line, I'm right there with you, Nick. If somebody gets hurt, that's just one more guy that's down. So does he decide to come back? I have no idea. The depth is critical, though, on defensive line, and Bear definitely helps with that, whether he's a starter or not, whether he's getting the most snaps or not. He definitely helps with that. I'll be honest, I would not be surprised to see Bear return because we saw this same thing happen with the transfer portal, right? He wanted to go and enter the transfer portal and they talked him back into staying. There's some rumors about NIL and stuff like that that happened there. But I mean, at the end of the day, I've seen Bear's dad online, like going at it with fans and stuff on Twitter. It's like, you just need to ignore the fans at the end of the day. Just play your game and do what you need to do for your team. And unfortunately, it feels like he is focusing more on the fans and what's best for him rather than what's best for the team. And yes, Doug, I completely agree. He has the coolest name for a defensive tackle ever. It reminds me when Ohio State had Tough Borland and he was a linebacker. It's like, yeah, Tough is the best name possible for a linebacker. um, so Nick, a lot of people are saying college football is broken. There's a lot of things that are, I mean, Doug was just saying it. Things are out of control right now. I mean, do you agree? Like, is college football broken? And if so, what do you feel like can be done to kind of help this specific issue that's going on where players are redshirting or quitting on their team 4 games in so that way they still preserve their year of eligibility?
I mean, I do think it's somewhat broken. I mean, there's some Indiana players I just heard about today that are going to redshirt. They're not like super big in the defense, but it does take out some depth out of our linebacker position if anyone goes down, like Walker or
Fisher.
yeah, Fisher. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was reading. But
You're good.
I do think it's somewhat broken. I mean, you talked about the UNLV quarterback, Matthew Sluka. I
Hmm.
mean, it's just a hard thing to handle, especially with all this NIL stuff. I think that ruling ended up opening a can of worms that they can't close because there's going to be athletes that just think they deserve more. They deserve more playing time. They deserve more money. So, and if the program they're in doesn't offer it, then they're just going to use the transfer portal to go somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. And they're going to quit on their team early. I mean, I think everybody knew that the transfer portal would be a possibility for people to go elsewhere at the end of the season. But I don't think anybody thought, well, maybe some people did, but not the majority of people did not think about players playing 4 games and deciding, oh, I don't like how much I'm playing, so I'm going to sit out the rest of the season. I think Matthew Saluka's case is a little bit of a different example. I know everybody kind of has a different stance here, but the way I look at it, if you get promised NIL money and you don't get paid it, you know, that's not really fair to me. So I get sitting out for that. But this situation where it's just playing time, like he still has more eligibility after this. It's not like he's completely done. So it's definitely a weird situation to think about, and that's unfolding in front of our eyes.